Hello, everyone. Welcome to another video of Workers Hammer. I'm Vincent.
I'm Eibhlin. Hello.
Hello, everyone. And today we wanted to do a bit of a post year party conference assessment
Yes.
and where to go now. So we've taken maybe a bit more time than others to digest the conference,
Yeah.
take a rest as well.
Decompress.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we wanted to go through a bit what did the Your Party conference showed, and a bit what's next for the left and
Yeah.
what should we do.
And can we show
Oh,
a
yeah.
nice banner that we had in Liverpool
Yeah.
so that everyone can see it?
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
Got quite a bit of coverage.
Yes.
So,
Right. So
okay.
Your Party conference, what's your assessment a bit? What came out of it? Well, your overall opinion? Obviously, we did like
Well,
daily coverage,
yes, we
but
did.
now we've taken a bit of distance.
Yes. So your party exists. It has a constitution. It passed some motions and so on. What it doesn't have is a program. What do you think about a party without a program?
Yeah, it's kind of quite something, right? Founding conference, and we don't still know what Your Party stands for, other than it's for socialism and it's for the working class.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously good, but
Yes.
you know,
Yeah,
anyway.
that's true. But I think the left came out of it much better
Yeah.
than we expected and much better than they themselves expected. Not just because there was the vote or all the arguments in favor of socialism and favor of it being a party for the working class, but also on motions about dual membership,
Yeah.
which was passed. You know, the right wing, which runs the party, meaning the Carrie Murphy Corbyn wing, did not get it all their own way. There was a lot of opposition to their bureaucratism and to everything that they tried to get through, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
In fact, it may be the first time in their experience that Carrie Murphy, Len McCluskey, and Jeremy Corbyn were facing real attacks from the left and a real pushback from the left. So they will have to go away and digest that now too.
Mm-hmm.
We see what they come back with.
Yeah. I think that's right. That the left came out better than probably we expected. If you look at our video on the day one of the conference,
Yeah.
it's called "Not Good."
Yeah.
Day one of the conference, not good, and really it wasn't good. The right really sort of crushed the left on that first day. But I think, however, on the second day, you could see that it had sort of backfired. You know,
Yes.
the expulsions of the SWP,
Yeah.
they played their hands a little too
Yeah.
much, actually.
Yeah. They overplayed it. for sure.
And I think so. You mentioned the vote, so well, we have to say that the right wing decided what would be voted on, and all the options that they put are presumably, they would be fine with both
Yes.
options. So, we shouldn't get too much enthusiastic about the results of votes, because we know that Carrie Murphy, she put those things, she can live with whatever results.
Yes.
However, of course, I do think on the dual membership, they did not get what they wanted.
No.
So dual membership is not banned. It is subject to approval by the leadership, obviously, which is still a danger for left organization, but a better outcome than just the outright ban of dual membership. So, okay, you have the vote. Also, like, socialism was put in the political statement. Working class was put in the political statement. Okay, fine. But I think for me, the more victory, quote unquote, was a bit more of on the moral side. That on the second day, when the votes came out, and when Zarah Sultana made her speech, it was, a fiery speech with, many of the lines she's been campaigning on against the monarchy, for socialism, against Zionism, for trans rights, etc. I think the impression you got was really that the left wing of the party is really the most dynamic section of the party, the
Yes.
most energized section of the party. At the end of her speech, people started to chant, "Oh, Zarah Sultana," and Corbyn is on the podium, sort of very uncomfortable, right? Like,
Yes.
realizing that, like, she really has the win in her cell, at least in terms of in the membership of your party.
Yes. And Len McCluskey was sitting in the crowd.
Oh yeah, we were not too far from him, actually.
I have a little video of him. So people are up on their feet and they're chanting "Free, free Palestine" and so on, which he had addressed at the Palestine rally outside of the conference a few minutes before, but he could not bring himself to
No.
say "Free Palestine" along with Zarah Sultana, and he did not applaud for one single
Yeah.
thing that she said, including stuff that he obviously agrees with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a small sample of the kind of
Yeah.
polarization that exists
Yeah.
there.
So I think that's more than just the mere vote, which I think still remained to be decided. I think it was more the energy, the vibe, the left wing. They really what it showed is that Kerry Murphy, the right wing, they cannot do everything they want with
No.
this party because a large part of the base is much to the left of them.
Yes.
So I think that's what kind of transpired quite clearly during the weekend.
Well, you could see that when Zarah Sultana was speaking, because the applause for the points that she made against Zionism, against NATO, for the working class, against the monarchy, was thunderous applause
Yeah.
in support of her.
Yeah.
So it gives a very different vibe than
Yeah.
if you just hear Jeremy Corbyn opening the conference and talking
Yeah.
about the many and not the few, and
It was also the only left wing speech that they couldn't interrupt during the conference, because throughout the weekend, people from the left would get up on stage, and you were really forced by the little bureaucracy at the top to speak only about the two options that were up to the vote. And of course, a lot of leftists were like, no, I want to make a broader point, or I want to make another point entirely. And as soon as you would do that, the chair would arrive. No, you have to stay in the motion, blah blah blah. And however, Zarah Sultana spoke, and I think she spoke for longer than the time she was entitled to, but they couldn't
maybe.
cut her, right? That was quite satisfying, for the left. Like, yeah.
Yes.
So,
And her politics are popular among
yeah,
the base of the party.
exactly. The right wing did one over the name of the party,
Yeah.
which is now absurdly called officially Your Party, which was Corbyn also preferred choice. And I still think that they rigged the vote on this one, because they've put 4 option out, which were obviously either all the options that Corbyn and the clique around him preferred, or I believe a few of them were just put there to get voted down so that Your Party could win. You had the Popular Alliance, Our Party, like with ridiculous name, and I think For the Many, which was probably the second choice Corbyn wanted.
For the many, not the few.
Yeah.
Terrible choice.
Obviously, Zarah Sultana had wanted the left party. It wasn't even put there. Do you know that? I'm not sure if I can confirm that, but I'm pretty sure the Socialist Party had proposed to Your Party to give the name Socialist Alternative. They've registered Socialist Alternative with the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
They were like, take it. Like,
yes.
then that would have been so much better than Your Party.
Yes. But they
Anyway.
wouldn't take it. Yes.
No, they didn't want anything that had to do with socialism or the working class. So anyway, we'll have to fight another day to get that name change. Anyway,
But
so
the outcome is there's all to play for by the left within your party. A lot of issues are unresolved, and so there's work for the left to do in the coming period within your party.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think so the left comes out kind of stronger, kind of animated from the conference. However, and just to reiterate the point we made, we made a short video right after the end of the conference at the train station, and our thing was nothing is resolved. And I think that remains entirely true. Well, as you said at the beginning, the party has no program. Like, why should you join Your Party? Like, what does it stand for? There isn't a clear answer to this question. The right wing is still in control of the apparatus, although what is the apparatus of this party is quite thin. I think Kerry Murphy thinks that she's running like the Labour Party again, and obviously this isn't the Labour Party, but still they're in control. They're still in command. Leadership election are upcoming, which we'll touch on in a little later. And all the big hard question that the party confronts in terms of uniting the different groups of the oppressed, nothing is settled really.
Yeah. So at the same time, there's a lot of sentiment for unity among the members, and people are tired of the factionalism and division and so on. So I think we should talk a little bit about what are the divisions, what's behind them, try to understand them, and give people a way to navigate through it. You know?
Because I think the factionalism isn't over. That's the thing, because it isn't resolved really. and you're right that after the conference, a lot of people are hoping that, okay, we can put all that bad start, behind, get organizing, get into work. But
Yeah.
we can tell you already, there's still going to be a factional fight, and I think it's worth getting into why and what's behind this, because it's a fundamental question.
Yeah. So we have two camps. We have the
Yeah,
Corbyn camp and the Sultana
yeah,
camp.
and I think the conference gave us also a good idea of, what are these two wings of the party battling.
Yeah.
Um,
So shall we start with the Corbyn camp?
yeah,
What does that
yeah,
consist of? What do they represent
what we call
politically?
the right wing of the party, right?
Yeah.
Obviously they're not right wing in society per se, but in the party they clearly represent, I think, the most, conservative and moderate element inside
Mhm.
your party.
Yeah.
So you have Corbyn himself, but you have sort of different layers to that wing. Obviously, so Corbyn, you have Kerry Murphy and Len McCluskey, who are sort of the trade union connection. You have many people from ex-Labor Party type,
Labor
or
councillors.
ex-Labor councillors as well. You have also layers of conservative Muslims as well, which I think are
Yes.
Shaukat Adam and Ayub Khan, the two MPs, also sort of represent.
Yes.
And so it's quite heterogeneous. Like it doesn't have necessarily a coherence, but and so what's their politics more or less? For me, the way I see it, they're united often in their hostility to left group, but also on the sort of very vague liberal appeal. That's really what Corbyn always talks about in his speech. Solidarity, against inequality, against the poverty, for
Yeah.
peace,
For
foreign
peace and
policy for
justice.
peace.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Listening
Mhm.
to the speech of Shaukat Adam and Ayub Khan, you really get the sense in different ways that they kind of view themselves as like the good conscience of the ruling class in a certain sense.
Yes. If
Not that they are from the ruling class, but they sort of want this party to be all the party that stands for good things and for the right things.
yes, well, I think Corbyn's politics is kind of, let's try and build a left party, a left opposition to Starmer that doesn't really rock the boat, doesn't ruffle any feathers. That's what all the vague talk about peace and justice is
Yeah.
about. And similarly for the Muslim MPs, Shaukat Adam and Ayub Khan, it's a bit like, if we don't say anything very controversial and don't cause any rift within the party,
Mm.
then somehow they think everything will work out fine, that this will unite the party. But will this unite the party? Those kind of politics? I don't think so.
No.
Far from it.
Well, it's because the reason it won't unite the party is because there's okay, these politics were always wrong even 10, 20 years ago, and you can't go forward on the basis of like vague liberal politics, but particularly in the era we live in, characterized by like the rise of the right wing, big shocks internationally, like big struggle also, this sort of conception of having a wishy-washy peace and love party,
Mhm.
there's absolutely no space for this politically. You're not going to win back workers who are looking to Farage or even Tommy Robinson. People are extremely angry at the broken Britain, and you're not going to win them back with these sort of vague liberal appeals.
No, and even the context in which this party is being founded is when people are really, really disgusted with Labour over the genocide in Palestine,
Yeah,
and the cost of living is going sky high because of support for NATO in the war in Ukraine. So,
yeah,
peace and justice just doesn't cut it anymore.
yeah,
Um, Not to mention the whole question of the working class being completely alienated from the left, which you
yeah.
mentioned. So no, that's not going to work.
Yeah, and it's sort of the problem. By if you listen to Corbyn's speech, really, it's always very, very vague. And the reason it is vague is that he doesn't want to take any sort of position that's going to be controversial, like you said. But the problem with that is that questions are going to come up in society, in the world, where you're going to have to take a clear side, and that will necessarily anger people. So for me, this wing of the party doesn't have any future. And sometimes at conference, I think we noted it in one of our video, our coverage was that I got the impression sometimes that this wing, or part of this wing, I should say, wants to recreate a sort of little Labor Party,
Yes.
sort of remembering the days when Corbyn used to lead the Labour Party, and it's like a bit nostalgic and not really forward looking at all. Like it kind of shocked me that the rally that Corbyn organized on the Friday night with Len McCluskey, it was a night of poetry, of culture, bit of snippets of politics, but that's about it. It's really for me looking at the past and looking at a sort of cultural and nostalgic attachment to honestly the Labour Party.
I think that's a very good point. Looking back with nostalgia through rose-tinted glasses at how it was when Corbyn was propelled into the leadership of the Labour Party in opposition to Tony Blair, capitalized on all that hatred of Tony Blair.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen like that this time around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
exactly.
yeah.
So that's sort of the right wing of the party. And again,
Yes.
this kind of a vague term because anyway, we'll get back to it. But
Yeah.
so now clearly when we say the left came out strong at the conference, we're talking about the left wing of the party. And its
Yes.
face really is Sultana, particularly after the
Yes.
conference, Zarah Sultana. And, to her credit, Zarah Sultana, she made that speech and she's been making, similar speeches since October, really drawing some of clear line, really putting forward at least a clear, more or less set of politics, she, against the monarchy, which got a lot of applause, against Zionism, against capitalism, quite radical talk against nationalizing the entire economy, which we can come back in a minute, which created a whole controversy. And, kind of drawing these sort of lines that are really against the British ruling class and that are quite popular among the membership.
Oh, yes. Very popular.
And Sultana really leans. Who is she leaning on? One of the reasons she makes these points and they're popular is because she leads heavily on the left socialist groups, certainly, but also people who are not in left socialist groups, but who are maybe a bit more younger, a bit more radical, who really want a socialist radical party, a sort of fighting party, she's appealing also to trans groups. She's appealing to the democratic socialists and the democratic bloc who are fighting for party democracy against the Kerry Murphy bureaucracy. And she's sort of appealing to this very broad layer who, again, also have their own political incoherence, have their own political divisions, but at least generally want a fighting radical party that really is a break with the status quo and is really looking to a fight with the ruling class at least.
But so she has a lot of strengths, Zarah Sultana, the points that she's arguing for, the political program that she's putting forward. Some of these things have not been heard for a very long time in Britain. Some of the things she's saying, the one on nationalization, for example, hasn't been heard since I heard Arthur Scargill talking about how we're for nationalizing industry. We don't want to nationalize just the lame ducks. We want the white swans, Scargill used to say. It didn't used to cause such a huge, kerfuffle when Scargill said it, but now everybody, jumped on Zarah Sultana, Tariq Ali. She needs advisors, this kind of stuff. It was very right.
Yeah, what I love about Zarah Sultana's sort of left turn, because she didn't used to say these things, when she was in the Labour Party, is that it has shown how many people on the British left or British far left are just like liberal. Like same thing, Owen Jones thought it was kind of shocked, nationalizing the economy. Like, oh my God, like you can't say that. And same thing with NATO. It was like a month ago. There was a big backlash about what she was saying when she said that Zelensky isn't a friend of the working class and that Britain should get out of NATO. And you had all these liberals saying, "Oh, shouldn't say this," Putin. And
why should that be controversial? Zelensky's not a friend of the working class.
And so it has the advantage, I think, drawing these lines to show that, a lot of the British left are just liberals, really. These are kind of basic socialist position, or should be at least.
Yeah. They have a very reflexive reaction to when she says something like that. Then some of them pulled back and said, they're trying to put a little bit of a Marxist coloration on their critique. In Novara Media, she's accused of being for war communism by Aaron Bastani, who's masquerading as Lenin. I thought that was high in entertainment value.
Yes. So Zarah Sultana, the voice of the left wing, which is really leaning on the most radical layer of the party, which I think the conference showed, as I said, is really the most, I think, dynamic, younger,
Yeah,
forward-looking
energy.
wing. And then, however, so you have this right wing, you have this left wing, but I do think there is in the party a big middle ground.
Yeah.
People who love what Zarah Sultana is saying, who also love Corbyn out of attachment to the last 10 years, and who see him as an important figure. And often, a lot of people, yeah, in that middle ground, they do not understand why is there so much struggle. The
Yeah.
conception is just, can they just like get along and get the show on the road? But I
Yes.
think what we showed, and it's important to understand these two wings, because you can see how really what's happening in your party and what's been happening, what is going to continue to happen, is this battle between these two camps over two fundamentally different visions for the party
Hmm.
that are not that are bound to remain in conflict in a certain sense.
Yeah.
And as I said, a sort of liberal wishy-washy party or a radical socialist working class party. That's
Yeah.
what's really is battling.
Yeah. So there is a very strong sentiment, however, against more splits and more divisions and
Yeah.
more conflict within the party. At this, so I think it's important for people to understand that you do need a political fight within the party for Sultana's politics, and that this is not the cause of the split. This will be the basis on which to unify the party on a very much stronger basis. If the party united around what Zara Sultana is putting forward, then and tries to win over the Corbyn wing and everyone else in the middle, this will solidify the party. It will have an actual program. It will distinguish from itself from the Green Party, from on
Yeah.
questions such as NATO, and at least would lay the foundation to begin to attract the working
Yeah.
class. Not it will not do it in and of itself, but I think it's important to see that that political struggle for Zara Sultana's politics and against the politics of the Corbyn wing is not a proposal to split; it's a proposal to unify the
Hmm.
party on a strong political foundation,
Hmm.
as opposed to what it is now. It's kind of like a pantomime horse with two different people, the front, the front and the back of the pantomime horse, and they will not unite.
Yeah.
You cannot solidify
Yeah.
the party
Yeah, I
politically
think
like
that's the
that.
problem with those who just want, unity. It's, if you want like peace in the party,
Yeah.
you have to fight for it. And there are
Yes.
contending forces looking to
Yes.
different classes
Yes.
who are battling right now for control of the party.
Yeah.
And the problem actually with the some of this infighting, and why we've been critical sometimes of Sultana as well, is that in order to make that fight clear, it has to be on clear politics. Put the
Mhm.
politics and always make it as clear as possible to members the difference between these two vision. That's why we said in our last video very quickly that, like, oh, maybe it would have been even better to have like a content between Corbyn and Sultana over leadership. Not so much about the structure, whatever collective leadership won,
Mhm.
fine, okay, but more what's lacking is this clear differentiation, because even Sultana herself, and that's sort of, if we can get into her some of the problems, because although we support Sultana, and we'll get back to this when it comes to the leadership, we do have criticism of her. She makes these speech that are very good, but she always opens them saying, "Oh, Jeremy Corbyn, I respect him. I want to work with him. I'm in unity with him."
Yes.
Which is all fine, or she shouldn't say that she disrespect him, but she never makes clear how her conception of the party is obviously counterposed to or opposed to the other wing that's trying to witch hunt her and her supporters, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, we mentioned this earlier as well. But under pressure, Jeremy Corbyn was forced to come out and say that he's against Zionism.
Yeah.
So, he should be won over to these other positions and make a clear statement, or at least not obstruct Zara Sultana
Yeah.
in pushing these politics. And,
Yeah.
um,
But
you
what
know,
yeah. So what you're addressing really is that, like, we think the task socialist should be to support Zara Sultana with
yes,
criticism, but support her critically, put her in leadership position, fight for her politics to dominate the party. And what you're
yes.
responding to are more people who say, well, what about, Corbyn? We don't want another split or another infighting or another, like, this will never end or something.
Yes, I mean, a lot of people will say Jeremy Corbyn is a very well-known figure. He's known much more widely
Yeah.
up and down the country, and let's say in Scotland and Wales, than Zarah Sultana is. And so therefore, the party would do better in elections, for example, if he is a member of the party. Well, that's fine.
Mhm.
That's true. But the but not on the
Yeah.
basis of wishy-washy politics or of a non-aggression pact. There's not going to be any non-aggression pact, I agree with you, between these two visions of the future, between these two
Yeah.
opinions about what the party should stand for, because it is a question of class. What class
Yeah.
is it the party actually going to represent?
Yeah. And I would say that the main problem for me that I have with the left and with Sultana is she wants a non-aggression pact. That's
Yes,
what she wants. When you intervene on Friday night at her rally,
yes,
it was very clear. You got up and said, "Are you going to take up the fight against the witch hunters and against Corbyn? You know,
yes,
on the political level."
yes,
And your intervention was the only intervention Zara Sultana absolutely hated,
yes. She
and that tells you a lot.
completely
Yeah.
disagreed. Yes, and so I think also when left groups like the SWP appeal for unity, they're not doing any good. They're actually making this
Yeah.
much more muddying the waters, because they're arguing for unity with Corbyn, not on the basis that we're saying, okay, Corbyn is a well-known public figure, but they're obscuring the political divisions
Yeah.
between Zara Sultana and Corbyn.
Yeah.
And in general, the organized left supports everything that Sultana stands for,
Yeah. I mean,
but
she basically has the same program as the SWP right now. I mean,
yes,
it's like,
yes, she does. It's identical. Um, but the question is, are they going to fight for that within the party? And
yeah.
so for them, unity with Corbyn and promoting unity within the party means also conciliating Corbyn's politics
Yeah.
and trying to form this bridge between
Yeah.
the two
Yeah.
wings. And that's not helping at all.
I think that's what creates the most confusion actually,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody speaks about unity, but then there's clearly political divisions, and
Yeah.
rather than saying, okay, there's two vision contending for the party, here's the argument for this one, here's the argument for this one, you have this sort of paper over of differences. That's what create confusion.
Yeah.
Now on your thing over split, we're not the RCG. The RCG, they're always like, you gotta split, and it's true that it's a problem on the left. As soon as anybody disagrees, you gotta split and form your own little group. Now that's not what we're arguing. I think you said it quite right. Like the point is to really make a case and an argument inside the party as to why this vision is the best and why this program is the best, which requires campaigning for a set of political positions in the party. Like me, in my opinion, like maybe that's a bit deviant, but I wouldn't mind if Zarah Sultana won the leadership, and if her politics could really dominate the party, and we could keep Corbyn, and he could be honorary president, or like he could be the part of a figurehead of the party. But as long as the politics of Sultana really dominate the party, and the reason for that is because despite all the problems she has, and we'll get to more of them in a minute, it is the of the two vision, it is the most progressive one, and it is also the one that has a future that can actually tap into working class anger, or at least has the potential for
Yeah.
this. And meanwhile, the Corbyn wing really is defending a has been vision of a liberal wishy-washy, which I think is going to has no future, really.
Yeah, I think Corbyn could play the role of like the president plays in Ireland. You sit up there in Aras an Uachtaráin, you're really a token head, and you can have
Well,
very
yeah,
progressive ideas and stuff like that, but you're really not meant to
yeah,
influence anything. And I think that would be a perfectly good role
yeah,
for Corbyn.
yeah. Because
Um,
there was a few comments in the video day number one. By the way, we read all your comments. Huh? There was a
yeah,
few comments they
thank
didn't
you.
like what we said about Corbyn, that he's right wing and whatever on the right wing of the party. But it's kind of clear that him and his clique around with Kerry Murphy, which he personally thanked at the end of his speech, at the closing speech at the Euro Party conference. They are firmly in control of this apparatus, and they don't want this party to be too radical and to draw too much lines, and they've sort of, that's why they keep smearing Zara Sultana as well.
The whole witch hunt of the SWP was all aimed at Zara
Well,
Sultana.
yeah,
Lewis Nielsen of the SWP speaks on her platforms all the
yeah,
time. And so that, that was clearly what was behind it. It's purely their own factional interest. I'm not saying they don't have their own disdain of the left, but Corbyn has had the support of the left all his life.
Yeah.
He knows better than Carrie Murphy, I suspect, and better than Len McCluskey, that you don't do anything, and you don't build anything in Britain without the organised socialist groups.
Yeah.
He's never done anything without the SWP
No.
building for him, booking rooms for him,
Yeah.
and so on.
So I think it might be hard for some people to understand that Corbyn is on the right wing of the party, but that's what's happening. Like, he's the one who, or at least the clique around him. I don't know how much he's even involved. I think it's Kerry Murphy really running it, but yeah, they're defending really a liberal vision for the party and really waging. They really started this conference declaring war on the left.
Yeah.
Kind of backfired.
Yes.
But that's what they're about. So really, faced with that, the task of socialists, you have to take the fight to the Corbyn wing. You have to defeat them, not in an underground manner or in a guerrilla manner, openly with politics. Make your case politically.
Yeah.
I think that's what can be clarifying for the party.
Yeah. I mean, what revealed Corbyn and his wing as the right wing of the party was simply that Zarah Sultana attacked them from the left.
Yeah.
Then it became quite obvious that had never happened before.
No.
It never happened when Corbyn was, leading the Labour Party with momentum.
Yeah.
And so on. So yes, then it became clear. But there's another thing that I think, another view that also obscures the difference, and that is the view that the lineup within your party is the membership versus the leadership.
Yeah.
That the leadership is bureaucratic, the membership and democracy among the membership is the way forward, and that these are the fault lines within the party.
Yeah.
And that really obscures what's going on. It obscures the politics of it, and it diverts the struggle in the direction of more democracy and so on, which I think doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had many arguments on the left with like the Democratic Socialists, etc., about this. It's true that when you look at the conference, it was super bureaucratic, and it's true that I think even people who might be looking to the right wing or whatever kind of join hand with the left wing of like, what is that? With the speaker telling you off, every time you say one thing that they don't like, and meanwhile the thing is called your party. Well, I guess it's not everybody's party, I guess. So obviously, there is an element of membership versus that thin layer at the top. But as soon as you start to unpack the politics and the composition of the various wings, you realize that, well, actually, the right wing has heavy support. We saw at the conference right wing members make quite right wing intervention, like against socialism, against left group, like really like kind of anti-communist,
against the working
nasty class stuff. Yeah, against the working class as well.
Yeah.
So members' democracy, although we're for it, we favor it, obviously, isn't going to solve the problem. The battle that's going on right now is broader and deeper than that.
Yeah.
And it's about, what politics, what class will the party, lean on and represent.
Yeah. And obviously, the bureaucratic rules were not applied equally to the right-wing members and the left-wing members, right? Nobody was shut up for arguing against socialism.
No.
Or any of those things,
of course not.
But so it was directed against the left. And so I just think that's not a helpful way to approach it. The people power of the members versus bureaucracy, which Zarah Sultana plays into that as well. Because I think a lot of people are afraid of being branded as splitters.
Yeah.
And that this is unpopular, but it's important to view it politically.
I think, so there's this. So what have we talked about? There are these wings in the party battling for different visions. There's a middle ground in the middle that sort of, for whom I think probably this whole fight is a bit confusing or a bit annoying and sort of wants to move on. This is not possible because these fundamental differences remain. And for us, and the point we want to hammer, we've hammered this in another video, the main obstacle is particularly on the left, those who are, rather than bringing that fight to the fore, are really papering over this fake unity. That's what confuses more, actually. And that's what also guarantees that the infighting will continue on an underground level in an unprincipled way, rather than having a fight politically out in the open.
Yeah.
Here's my politics. Here's the politics of the other side, and
Yeah.
putting it to the members as to which direction should we go.
Yeah. It'll still remain very unclear, very
Yeah,
murky.
yeah. So if we get
So
into what should socialists be doing after this conference,
yes.
so now a lot of people are looking forward to get involved in branches. A lot of
Yeah.
people are there's leadership elections coming up. They'll be in
Yeah.
February, but the nominations will open very soon, I believe, actually.
Yes.
And
15th of December, I believe, the
yeah, yeah,
nominations will open. And yes, some of the branches are deciding, we will welcome SWP members. We will not impose
yeah, the
those
ban on
bureaucratic rules. We won't abide by the ban, which is perfectly good.
yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
We will have more to say about the leadership elections once we see what the slates are.
Yeah,
But as a
so
general,
the party has a collective leadership, which I'm not even exactly sure how that's going to work. But like, anyway, there's this 20 people committee, and the elections are most people in that committee cannot be MPs, so there'll be people probably a bit less known. Although if you follow the left, I'm sure we'll see the usual figures. Um, so how should we approach those elections? Or yeah, basically,
I mean, we'll have to judge it according to what politics people stand for. Hopefully, anyone who's standing for this committee will produce a small, manifesto or
yeah,
something that will say where they stand. We will want to see Zarah Sultana's politics and Zarah Sultana's people, by which I don't mean personalities. I mean people who stand on the same platform
yeah,
that she's been putting forward. We will want to see them dominate in the
yeah.
party, but not on the basis of personalities.
Yeah. No, first it's politics. For us, the Zara Sultana must be put in the best leadership position,
Yeah.
and the people who support her and support her politics must be put in the leadership position, and hopefully get a majority on that committee.
Yes.
And I don't feel squeamish at all to say this, because Zara Sultana needs to win those elections,
Yes.
and I think socialists should uh, help make that happen.
Yeah.
And again, as we said, like in our other videos, for us, what matters is the political positions that people take. It's not
Yeah.
just that people who support Zara Sultana; they have to support the vision she's pushing for that party. Like we have on our banner: working class, anti-NATO, anti-Zionist, but also anti against the monarchy, for
Yeah.
socialism, against capitalism.
Yeah. For trans liberation, all these
Yes,
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll have to evaluate who, in order to really know where to vote. But I think this is what I think socialists should be looking to help Zara get in the best position, and help her supporters get in the best position, essentially.
Yeah. I
Um,
think that's an application of what we've said for a while, which is make Zara Sultana's politics party policy.
yeah,
And that's something that has to be fought for, you
yeah,
know, um, including in the elections.
yeah.
Um,
However, there are many people on the left who they like Zara Sultana, whatever, but they're kind of wary about her. They have criticism of her, which we also do. Like, for example, I talked to someone who was like, well, the problem with Zara Sultana is I find that she's quite liberal sometimes. Other people will say she's quite a bit like student type politics.
yes.
It's a bit shallow sometimes.
Yes.
And so what would you say to those people who argue this?
I think there's a lot of truth in what they say. She's a lot into, identity politics,
Yeah.
and her argument against the far right comes down to, some liberal sloganeering, refugees are welcome here, and so on, which doesn't not fundamentally address
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yes, that's true. It's the question of transliberation and avoiding the polarization that already exists between defending trans rights or defending Muslim rights. That's a very bad polarization, which she does not have an answer to. Now, I think we will ourselves will deal with that
Yeah.
separately, but that's a real issue, and it's an example of her limitations,
Yeah.
because liberal identity politics for trans liberation does not bridge that gap. And in fact, it's given an opening to the Jeremy Corbyn wing to appeal to more conservative
Muslims, yeah.
elements in the Muslim community, against Zara Sultana. So she certainly has those
Yeah.
weaknesses.
I think that's important, because although we are, supporting her let's say Zarah Sultana wins the whole party tomorrow, and her speeches are basically party policy. That would be a step forward, I think, because you
Yes.
would have a party that's against NATO, against Zionism, against the monarchy,
Yeah.
etc., that explicitly stands for these lines, which are totally unacceptable to the British ruling class, which
Yes.
are really a confrontation against their rule.
Yes.
However, you will still find a huge problem, which is that these are good lines, but basically Zara Sultana still has a lot of liberal baggage, a lot of laborite baggage, which is going to still be a problem to win over the working class. And you can see that baggage every time she's a bit under pressure or has to improvise a bit, like on her performance on Question Times, for example. Many people thought she did great. I thought it was, it was quite laborite what she was arguing. She wasn't
Yeah.
making any more speeches to expropriate the capitalists. She kind of changed her tune. Or when she made that comment about socially conservative people don't have a place in your party, I thought that was kind of liberal identity politics, really, and I thought
Yeah.
quite disastrous. And when she's under pressure, she resorts, either to liberal or laborism, or sometimes to very quite politically shallow comment. So I think so we support Zara Sultana despite these problems. And I think that leads to the second task of the left, I think, is the left wing revolutionaries must really work together and cohere themselves around a clear and uh, socialist program that can respond to not only critically support Zara Sultana, but that can only really deepen a real socialist tendency inside this party, that can respond in a Marxist working class way to the problem of immigration, to the problem of trans liberation in the Muslim community, to all these thorniest, difficult problem for the left that you cannot only solve by raising slogans. That you
Yeah.
actually need to develop arguments to respond.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two things involved. One is the left, as you said, Zarah Sultana's program and the
Yeah,
SWP's program is pretty much identical. And that goes for a lot of other groups on the
yeah.
left,
Socialist
also, the
alternative. Yeah,
organized groups on the left. Um, but they've had difficulty in coming forward and fighting for those politics, especially inside your party.
yeah,
You don't hear the SWP saying, yes, we agree with the points that Zarah Sultana has put forward, so let's fight to make them party policy.
yeah.
No, they do not. And I suppose an even better example, I think, is the RCP.
Oh,
um, they finally noticed that Zarah Sultana is saying some very revolutionary sounding things. So, having washed their hands completely of your party and decided that their own thing was better, a few days ago, they have a video where, 56 minutes or so into a 1 hour video, they managed to say that they support Zarah Sultana's politics.
do they?
Yes, they do. And they did quite a good job of defending her against right wing attacks for what she said about nationalizations, because they said, well, that's very familiar. They've experienced that many times in the past. But so they support Zarah Sultana's politics. Great. What are you going to do about it, comrades in the RCP? You can say it on a video, but I'm sorry. If you don't join your party and fight for it and fight to make, against Jeremy Corbyn's politics and so on, it's worthless.
Yeah.
It just doesn't count for anything.
Yes.
So,
Well, it's good they came out, but we urge them
yes,
to really
yes.
fully,
Now
because it was kind
act
of
on it.
it's kind of annoying, honestly,
Yeah.
to hear them defend Zara Sultana, because they right before the conference they wrote an article basically writing off your party as a whole.
Yes.
This is going nowhere. Join the RCP, and they were, I think, like the whole British far left was at this conference, or at least all the groups were there, except the RCP, basically. And everybody was together. That was actually one other good thing about this conference is the fringe meeting on the Saturday night. It brought the entire far left together. We were all together in the same room,
Same room.
and we can't ignore each other anymore. We have to talk to each other, and with all
Yes.
the good things and bad things this brings. But
Yes.
but the RCP was totally absent out of this.
Yes.
So it forces the left to confront sort of the crisis of our movement, essentially.
Yes.
So we urge the RCP to change course and really join the fight because the
Yes.
fight, it's not just something you say, oh yeah, she's saying good things. Like it's just struggle. At this conference, there was a fight between two sides of the party. So
Yeah.
you need to join the fight. I think there are other groups also, like the CPGB or others, who were kind of they don't want to take Zarah Sultana's side too hard, because they're like, oh, we don't want to tail Zarah Sultana. We don't want to be opportunist towards Zarah Sultana.
Mhm.
Everybody's been traumatized with the Corbyn period, where everybody was traumatized, but everybody was tailing Corbyn, and we
Yeah.
can't do. Right, we shouldn't be opportunistic against Zarah Sultana. As we said, there's many limitations with her program, and I think if she does get the leadership, wins the leadership, we will see even more of those limitations. And I think that would be clarifying.
Yeah.
However, you can't deny that there is a side to be taken here.
Yes.
It is important not only to that Zara Sultana makes good speeches, but that her politics dominate the party. And that's what you need to fight for. And that's what a lot of the left forget. They go in so far as having a party of the whole class. They want every tendency represented in the party. No. What we need is really for our side to dominate that, so that the politics of Zara Sultana and of the left are really the politics of this party.
And in fact, that's all you have to do. If you want to make a distinction between your own revolutionary politics and Zarah Sultana, all you have to do is say, Zarah, your politics should be the politics of this party. And that means you have to have a political fight against the Corbyn
Yeah.
wing. And then it will be clear to everyone, and including to Zarah Sultana, that what your differences are.
Yeah.
That, it turns out, that draws a line.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
implement these politics. It's not a matter of just making
Yeah,
speeches.
because I believe, some people on the far left are a bit disoriented. Like Zara Sultana, as you said, is saying the same thing as the SWP. So
Yeah. What do you
what
do?
do you do in those situations? Well, good.
for it.
Let fight for it. Let's have a fight for those politics. And this is why I think you'll see still the laborism in Zara Sultana over not really wanting to take the fight against the right wing, which is incidentally what Corbyn didn't do when he was leader of the Labour Party.
I hate to keep going back to the Corbyn era, but the lessons of the Corbyn era
Yeah.
keep coming back.
Yeah.
If you put unity of the party above the things that you stand for and the reasons that people support you,
Mm-hmm.
you will end up conciliating the right wing, and through that you will conciliate the British establishment.
Yeah.
And you made the point that this is not Zara Sultana's politics in itself will not win back the working class, but it will go some way towards breaking the link between the left and liberalism,
Yeah.
and that, which is essential. There still is work to be done, but for too long the left has been seen as part of the liberal establishment.
Exactly.
And
which has driven, this is what has driven so many workers to the right.
Yeah.
The workers look at the left and they see no difference between socialists and liberals.
Yeah.
That's for us is the biggest problem, essentially.
And take a look at Jeremy Corbyn, going back to your point about peace and justice and the many, not the few, and all the rest of it. How's that going to win the working class?
Yeah.
It just says absolutely nothing. More of the same. Working class people would not give that the time of day, honestly.
No. Yeah.
Why should they?
Yeah. And that's why I think there needs to be a real revolutionary tendency built in the party, which regroups different left groups together, but also people who are not in left groups, but which can really develop a revolutionary program for this party. And when I say revolutionary program, I'm not talking about shouting revolution. I'm talking about really drafting answers to the hard questions facing the left, and really drafting a program to campaign for inside your party, but also outside in society.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is what we would like to do in the next few weeks as well, or a few months, is to try to have videos focused on certain point, like the divide between the trans liberation milieu and the Muslim. How do you reconcile those two groups? How do you fight for unity between those two groups? There's huge divisions at the moment, and these are two of the most oppressed groups in Britain. You have to bring them together, but for that you need Marxism.
Yeah.
The immigration question is the same thing.
Yes.
Just saying refugees are welcome here is not gonna cut it.
Yeah, or denouncing anyone who questions the immigration policy as a racist. This is not a way forward. It just plays to the existing divisions in society, and
or even basic question of like NATO or Zionism. Why is that relevant? We've addressed this a little bit in our past videos, but like why why is that important, or what is that has to do with bread and butter issue? You have to be able to develop those points and go beyond just the slogans and
Yeah.
apply them. So I think, and this is how you can, as revolutionaries, we can play not only a productive role in this party, but also go beyond and combat the weaknesses of Zarah Sultana, actually.
Yeah, and I mean it's really an opening to advance a program for socialism and to make socialist groups and socialism relevant again to the
Yeah.
British working class, which a lot of groups have abandoned, honestly, and
Mm.
they've not acquitted themselves very well inside your party in fighting for socialism either, because they tend to put questions about structure and democracy above the question of
Oh yeah.
even their own socialist program, so
But
that's
you're not going to attract workers by talking about the Constitution and
I don't
that's
think
not going to
so.
work. That's not going to work. I know the Democratic Socialists love to repeat the Tony Benn thing. If you can't democratize your party, you cannot democratize society in general. And okay, there's some truth to it, but really, the if you want to win the working class, you have to speak to their anger. You have to offer a program against the British ruling class that is also concrete, tied to their condition. So if we spend our time talking about the Constitution, we're not going to get there.
Yeah. I think
So
that's
yeah,
absolutely true.
yeah. You have anything to add? Conference, the
Uh,
elections. So I mean, we'll come back to the election, but I think we've said what
when we
needs to
see
be
what
said. Yeah,
the slates are, um, I would thank people again for the comments. We
yeah,
really appreciate the feedback, and we try to address them in
yeah,
in our videos and so on. So
yeah.
do
I mean,
keep with the
continue
comments.
posting your comments.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point we can make even a video responding only to comments. So if you have questions,
Yes.
criticism,
Yes.
comments,
Yeah.
we read them all, even if
Disagreements.
we don't
We
necessarily
do.
respond to all of them. So
Yeah.
right. So
Okay.
uh, s- uh don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you liked what we said, and
Yes.
share the video as well with people. It helps grow our following.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's about it, and we'll be back soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.